This will be for the con exercise, systems of equations with elimination. So there's basically two things you're allowed to do when you have a system of equations. Okay, number one, you can add or subtract the equations from each other. And number two, you can multiply or divide either equation by any number except 0. Alright, for this particular exercise, I don't think you'll have to do step 2 at all. So I am just going to cross this off for now, but you can certainly include it in your notes for later. Okay, and also, I can't promise this, but I believe for all of these problems in this particular exercise, you will be adding the equations and not subtracting. Alright, let's look at the first problem here. They want us to solve the system of equations. So you see we have two equations and we have two variables, x and y. And we're going to have to solve for both of those variables. Alright, so the initial goal is to get one variable to cancel. Okay, we can see from these two equations, the coefficient on y, we have a negative 10 and a positive 10 on the y variable. So if we added these two equations, negative 10 and positive 10, that would cancel or drop out. So let's do that. Alright. So it would be nice if these were lined up, but anyhow, we are just adding these two equations to each other. So negative 10y plus 10y, that's going to be 0. Okay, you can write 0 if you want, but you don't have to. So these drop out. 9x plus 5x is 14x. And bring down the equal sign. And negative 9 plus negative 5 is going to be negative 14. Now this right here is basically the first step. The second step is going to be to solve for one variable. So here we have x times 14. The opposite of times 14 is divided by 14. Okay, I'm going to do that to both sides. And 14 divided by 14 cancels. X equals negative 14 divided by 14, which is just negative 1. Okay, so finally, we're going to take that negative 1 and plug it in. Okay, you can plug it into either equation. So that's basically going to be step 3. Plug in the variable you solved. Alright, so that's step 3, and you can do that to either equation. Alright, so I'm going to take my x equals negative 1 and plug it in right there. So we have 10y plus 5 times negative 1 equals negative 5. Okay, and that gives us 10y. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. And that equals negative 5. Alright, we want letters on one side and numbers on the other. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. So I'm going to do that to both sides of the equal sign. Positive 5 on both. 5 minus 5 cancels. And we're left with 10y equals negative 5 plus 5, which is just 0. Okay, so we can see already it's going to be 0, but just for completeness here we have y times 10. The opposite of times 10 is divided by 10. Okay, and 10 over 10 cancels, and 0 over 10 is just 0. So y equals 0. Alright, so we had x equals negative 1 and y equals 0. So just click inside the box, negative 1 for x and 0 for y. Okay, the instructions are the same for all of these problems. They want us to solve the system of equations. So looking at these two equations, the coefficients do not match for the y's, but for the x's, we have a positive 7 and a negative 7. So we can add these two equations, and the 7x's will drop out. Okay, so 2y plus 5y is 7y. Positive 7x plus negative 7x is 0, so these cancel. Bring down the equals. Negative 5 plus 12, that's the same as 12 minus 5, that's 7. Okay, solving for y, the opposite of times 7 is divided by 7, and the 7's cancel, and y equals 7 divided by 7, which is just 1. Alright, you want to take that y equals 1 and plug it in. So you can use either one. I think the one with the smaller coefficient is usually a little easier, but it doesn't matter. Alright, so let's take y equals 1, and I'm going to plug it in right here. Alright, so that leaves us with 2 times 1 plus 7x equals negative 5. Okay, I'll erase this for more room. 2 times 1, of course, is 2, plus 7x equals negative 5. Okay, we want letters on one side and numbers on the other. So the opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. I'm going to do that to both sides. 2 minus 2 cancels. Bring down the positive 7x. Bring down the equals. And negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7. Solving for x, the opposite of times 7 is divided by 7. We do that to both sides, and the 7's cancel. Negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1, and that equals x. So that's it. Negative 1 and positive 1 right in the box. Alright, so x equals negative 1 and y equals positive 1.